I'm Linda Logan, Executive Director of the Greater Columbus Sports Commission, and so happy to have joining me today from our team, Celia Anderson, our Director of Business Development, and our special guest, Bob Dunlop with U.S. Figure Skating. Bob is actually in the bubble in Las Vegas on the final day of the 2021 Toyota U.S. Figure Skating Championships. Bob, we're so happy to have you joining us, and maybe just for a brief description for our listeners about U.S. Figure Skating and what your role is with the organization.
Sure. Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you, Linda. I'm the Senior Director of Events with U.S. Figure Skating. I've been with the organization a little over 20 years in a different capacity. I started with media and communication side of the sport. But really my role today is I really focus on the awarding, the bidding process and awarding of our major championships, which also includes the national championships, an event called Skate America, and also our world championships or any other international event that we bring to the United States. In addition, we oversee, or my department oversees the awarding and implementation of our qualifying system, which is really 9 regional events and 3 sectional events, as well as synchronized skating and adult skating. So it kind of runs the gamut of a 12-month cycle. And but this week, it's really the pinnacle of all of our events at the U.S. Championships.
Speaking of U.S. Championships, Bob, you're finishing up with that event this week, correct?
Yeah, Celia, we've been here 2 weeks almost. Tomorrow's officially the 2-week mark for our staff. And as Linda said, we've created a bubble environment, just a necessity. We've seen what other sports had done. This is an important event for us, for our membership, our athletes, but also for our television partner. NBC is our television partner, and it's one of the main revenue drivers of our organization is our television and our sponsorship. So this event is very important, and we found a way to make it happen this year.
Yeah, can you elaborate just a little bit about the impact of COVID-19 on the original side of the championships and what the process it was like kind of moving to the bubble?
Yeah, and obviously we're here today in Las Vegas, and the event had been awarded for this championships to San Jose, a site in the SAP Center, home of the San Jose Sharks. It's a location that we'd been there twice before and had very good success with, and that's something just as COVID changed all of our decision-making timelines and concerns with county by county, not only just state by state, but county by county. Santa Clara County, which is home to San Jose, was one of the tightest counties in the country. We were monitoring that location, daily, weekly, quite frankly, in conversations with our partners there. And it started to become self-evident that we were really, it was a high risk. And in Las Vegas, we had already planned to do an event in October called Skate America. And so we ended up doing that as well in a bubble previous. And when we had that success coming out of it, that's in late October is when the numbers started to rise in the country. So really just an open and honest conversation we had with San Jose. We love it there. We wanted to go there, but it just from both sides, it became very self-evident that we just couldn't make it happen there. And the decision ended up being the right decision 2 weeks later when really Santa Clara, pulled back again and really adjusted. Even today, San Jose Sharks, for instance, started their season in Arizona for training camp. So, we were very fortunate. In the sense that we have great partners around the country. This year in San Jose helped along and very understanding. We then quickly awarded the championships back to San Jose for 2023 as kind of a, thank you and goodwill. And we look forward to bringing the event back there very soon.
I know that you've had to put in a lot of COVID restrictions, right? Or COVID protocol in Las Vegas. Can maybe go into a little bit of what that looks like?
Yeah, we are actually at a property called the Orleans Arena, which is a hotel and arena complex. It's also a casino property. So it actually falls under the Nevada Gaming Control Board, which is following the executive orders of the governor of Nevada in regards to COVID. So we actually had to create It turned into almost a 20+ page document that we had to detail how this event could run safely following all the protocols. Most notably is testing. And that was a big piece of the equation that we really had no experience. So, we really listened and we learned from what others were doing around the country. We reached out to a lot of different sport organizations, and we got connected with a group here that is kind of the preeminent COVID testers in Las Vegas. And thankfully, we were able to come to terms, and they had on-site testing. That was the biggest piece, and that was really what created that bubble environment and maintained that bubble. So I, for instance, have been tested 4 times in the 2-week period. Prior to arriving, everybody was tested. And then again, we had prior to arrival, on-site arrival, you got tested. And then within 72 hours, you got tested again. And, we were very fortunate within our athletes, coaches, and our officials. No one tested positive. We did a lot of advanced communication on what the plan looked like, what the expectations were. We separated people by groupings in dining room experiences. The other major change for the bubble this year that we don't normally do is we centered all activities, including dining, at the arena. We had everybody essentially go from the airport, check in at the arena. We already had their hotel key cards ready to go. We went through an orientation. We had them sign a waiver that they were understanding of what the bubble meant, meaning that you can't leave the property once you entered. You had to get tested. If you were positive, you were immediately removed from the event. No questions, no second test. And so these are things that all played into the approval process with the Nevada Gaming Control Board. And they tested us. We had calls with our chief medical officer, who was from UNLV here in Las Vegas. And we really had to, a lot of fine tuning along the way, a lot of calls and dialogues to make it work. And then our arena partners here, they are also involved in that process. And they were instrumental in really helping us understand how best to utilize the facility. Really, cleaning nonstop. We have a crews on all levels, and it's kind of a 30-minute loop where they're wiping down door handles, everything. So high visibility. But in the end, the plan was approved, of course, and the bubble happened. And we are here on the last day of junior competition, and we're very happy about that. So a lot of hard work by a lot of good people.
Well, I know that you have such a passionate fan base. So how did you and really the athletes who really are part of that a passion for the sport? I know my mom was a huge figure skating fan. And so how have you been able to really capture that without having spectators, and even with some of your iconic athletes?
Yeah, it was obviously very different, very strange for everyone involved, including myself. The one thing is you really notice how quiet an arena can be when no fans are in and there's no extras in the venue. Some of the things that we normally have had in recent years is we have, a lot of fan engagement, a lot of fan entertainment, both in the arena and the concourse and leading up to it. So we really had to think, how do we deliver those products virtually? It is hopefully a 1-year experience only. So our, both in the event side of things and our marketing and communication team created on our U.S. figure skating fanzone.com website, they created a virtual how to watch the event, how to engage. And we did a lot of video content reach outs. One of the things that we did also for the first time is we created a video wall as the backdrop for the kiss and cry. And that gave us a lot of flexibility, both with the athletes, but most notably, we did Zoom rooms, just like we're doing here. There was a branded Zoom room, and we invited a group called our Friends of Figure Skating, which is our most passionate fans, as you mentioned, Linda. But we also had a separate invite link sent out to the athletes, friends, and family. So basically we said, hey, athletes, send this to your parents, your grandparents, your aunts, your uncles, your whoever. And there was kind of 2 tiers of entry point into the Zoom room. So after any skate, as they were skating off, it wasn't on during their performance, of course, but as soon as they bowed at center ice, it popped up. And as they skated off, they could see their parents. I mean, I remember Jason Brown, who's a very always cheery guy. His parents were on there, friends were on there. One of our pair skater, Alexa Kiniram, formerly skated with her husband. He retired last year, so she skates off, and there he is holding up their cat at home. And so there were some really great opportunities, both with the friends and the family, but most notably our figure skating fans. And, I think everyone understands this is a 1 year and done, hopefully. We're crossing our fingers. So that was a really good experience. And then we also, prior to the event, reached out, and like other sports are doing, we created a fan cutout experience where you could submit your photo online. We created the fan cutout, put it in the seats. All the monies for that went to U.S. Figure Skating's Memorial Fund, which is basically a donation based, obviously in recognition of our 1961 U.S. Figure Skating team. But all the monies from that fund go directly back to support athletes. So we had great success with that. I think we had around 450 fan cutouts. And that really just helped shape the mood. And it really kind of looks real when you walk into the arena for the first time. And then finally, we brought in some crowd noises. Other sports have done this as well. We didn't know how that would look and feel or sound, but it actually, the athletes commented that they really liked it. So again, we made the best of the situation. And we really, again, I think did way better than we originally thought we could. Which is just testimony to, everyone's resolve in this COVID year of, pivoting and pivoting again, always.
Mhm. It sounds like you guys paid a lot of attention to detail for this event, and we would actually love in Columbus to become a premier destination for U.S. figure skating events. We've hosted the annual governing council meeting twice. So can you talk a little bit about what successful host cities have done to make a difference, and what makes Columbus a great fit for you guys?
Yeah, well, let me first speak. I was there at the last governing council. It was a great experience, and everyone really enjoys the downtown, and it's very self-evident what you all have there. The hotels within walking distance of the arena. I've toured nationwide. Having 2 sheets of ice in one facility is very, very rare in this country, and actually opens a lot of possibilities for a sport like ours, where we have competition in one rink and practice in another. But to go back to kind of the meat and potatoes of your question in terms of what can a partner or city partner work with a sport like us, it really matters to us that one, that you kind of understand what the sport looks and feels like. You've kind of done your research, but also that we really would desire to be a major event on your sports calendar. We know that every city in the country goes after, major events all the time, and rightfully so, and NCAA bidding cycles and other Olympic sports, and certainly the NHL and Ohio State in your case. But what it really sets us apart in cities is when we can kind of be that 1 or 2 major sport of the year, and resources and community partnerships. We feel we have a lot to give as a sport to a community. Our athletes are very media friendly. There's something for everyone in the sport because we have 4 disciplines. So every night is a kind of a new experience at the rink from a fan and a community partner. We look for great partnership connections on things as logistically as medical partners, but also as high profile as local media partners. To help us tell our story, to help us, gain value back for the community through the sport. So these are things where we're very fortunate to have a very, kind of experienced staff with this championships in particular. And we do a lot of front end work to come in and kind of show you how we could activate in your community and hopefully return. I note that because, as you said, we've been there twice for governing council. Some other cities like San Jose, as I mentioned, Spokane, Washington, Greensboro, we've all gone back 2-3 times. And Las Vegas is a good example. We love to come back to a community that we form a partnership with. And it's not for us. It has nothing to do with just the heads and beds mentality. It's so much more than that. What we're trying to gain is a presentation using our major events to also benefit the opportunities for our sport in your community. knowing you have a lot of rinks through the chiller rink system, we want to help our local skating clubs use that as a platform to build awareness and show young families and young athletes the opportunities that might present themselves to the sport of figure skating. So we really see, and we've done a lot of conversations over the years, as I mentioned. Linda and I've had a lot of discussions, and I just know Columbus is in our future.
It's exciting. I think it was just 2 years ago that we brought maybe 15, 20 people to Detroit, since we were so close, to see you for the day, just community leaders, just to be able to showcase what this could look like for Columbus in the future. So, talking a little bit about what the future holds. We're a year away from the Olympics, and what does that mean for you in an Olympic year as you're preparing, and the excitement that we all feel, knowing how we can identify with that. It's your 100-year anniversary, so I'm throwing all that at you at once, but maybe that could be a good way to close before our question.
Yeah. And Linda, I think it's really important, and I see Barbie Holland on there. Hi, Barbie. It is our 100-year anniversary. The sport of figure skating, and kind of testimony to the fact that this sport has really been a part of our sports fabric in this country for a long time and isn't going anywhere. We are using it, unfortunate timing with COVID has, changed some of the plans, but we started the celebration here in January. We are actively engaging with a lot of our alumni. But more than that, it's about using that as a tool to really remind everyone at the grassroots level what we're doing. So there's that, but also we are entering the Olympic year, as you mentioned. Next year's championships that will be held in Nashville will be the final event of our selection of our Olympic team that will then skate in Beijing. So we always pull out all the stops in an Olympic year. It really means a lot more media attention, a lot more focus for our athletes. And we will be celebrating big time in Nashville some of the things that we missed this year. Our Hall of Fame induction ceremony, for instance, our reuniting of our Olympic champions of the past, which we've been doing every 4 years for, I think, the last 4 Olympic cycles. These are all things that, again, lend themselves to really showing and telling our story as a sport organization to all fans, not just those passionate fans, as we talked about earlier. But really, COVID has set us back, both the athletes. This is, for many of the athletes here, this was really the first time they got to skate in person this year. We did virtual events, which is never the same for a sport like figure skating that's to be performed in front of officials. So our athletes are like many athletes. They've been locked out of the rinks due to COVID. They've had very limited training time. So I think everybody's just looking forward to getting through this month, and hopefully as things reopen, we can get back to that normal mentality and really focus our energies on that Olympic run-up, which would really, for us, start in October with Skate America and our international series of events that'll go around the world for our senior athletes who are vying for those spots. But the most notable difference right now is our World Championships, which should be normally held in March. They're kind of teetering on the brink. No one knows if they're actually going to happen yet. And that has direct implications to our Olympics, because it's the Olympic qualifier for how countries qualify to compete at the Olympics. And those will be supposedly held in Stockholm, third week of March.
Well, believe it or not, we're at that time to start asking questions. So I'm going to turn it over to Riley Newhart from our team, Bob, and just knowing that we'll come back and I'll close, but obviously you've been a great partner of ours. So Riley, you can take it from here and I'll be back.
Great. Hello, everyone. So Bob, first question is a little bit more about the bubble that you're currently in right now. Were there any adjustments or course corrections that were needed once the process of moving into that bubble began? And did anything catch you off guard that you guys did not plan for?
I think there's always things that we were changing, quite frankly, not major. The nice thing about having to submit a plan is there's a lot of pre-discussion. There's a lot of back and forth to kind of gauge what they're really looking for. We started this process, as I mentioned, back in October when we did Skate America. Numbers were much lower in the country at that time. Threshold was a little different. So for instance, that event, we only tested people one time and we didn't require an advanced test. We learned from that. Our medical team on site really advised us against doing that again. So we added additional testing. U.S. Figure Skating covered those costs of the tests. We didn't feel that that was something that we wouldn't burden our athletes and coaches this year with. We wanted to also ensure safety and take the kind of the discussion of finances off the table for safety and protocols. So we were able to do that. And I think, you know, it's just little tweaks here and there. The other big difference from our October event to returning in January was we really increased our social distancing aspects. We created additional locker room space, additional officials. So basically, we had 2 ladies' locker rooms, we had 2 men's locker rooms, we had multiple officials' rooms, and then we had 3 separate dining areas created with a maximum of 2 people at an 8-foot table, as an example. All those reasons were based on numbers. We're climbing again in the country through the holiday season. These were some of the things we adjusted. And we didn't really have anything that surprised us. We were very fortunate. As I mentioned, there was protocols. If somebody tested positive, they were having to get, quarantined or self-isolated in Las Vegas for 10 to 14 days. Thankfully, that really didn't happen. And so we, whether we dodged a bullet or planned perfectly, I don't think we did either, but there was certainly a certain factor of luck.
Either way, you were successful. So like you said, I'm not sure it matters either way.
Yeah.
So just another question to kind of wrap us up. We talked about in an Olympic year, how things really ramp up for the sport. So after the U.S. Championship results, who are kind of the biggest stars that we should be looking out for, that we're going to start seeing a lot more of as we head up to next February?
Yeah, the number one, obviously the biggest name in our sport right now from the United States is in our men's event called Nathan. His name's Nathan Chen. He just won his 5th straight U.S. title, something that is a rarity these days in any sport, but he is just so accomplished right now. He's also a 2-time world champion, and he's most notable for those of you who watched the Olympics a couple of years ago. He had a very almost disastrous short program, and he was a favorite to challenge for the gold medal. He came back the next 2 days later and knocked it out of the park in the free skate, and was, pulled up amazingly. But he has something to prove, and he's continuing to put in the work and do that. This is someone who really represents the sport very well. He excels off the ice. He's a student at Yale, although he's taking a year off. So very smart, and he's won at every level. This is no flash in the pan. Our ladies is always kind of a toss-up in recent years. We have Brady Tennell, who reclaimed her title this year from a couple of years ago. Young Alyssa Liu, who had been the U.S. title holder for the last 2 years, who wasn't even eligible to compete internationally for the last 2 years, and is not just now going to be turning 15, so she'll be eligible in the Olympic year for her very first year. So she, was well documented on NBC. She had a growth spurt, as many 14, 15-year-old people do, and she is coming back from that and is looking great. And we just have a whole host of excellent ice dance teams. Madison Chalk and Evan Bates, and Madison Hubble and Zach Donahue are 2 perennial favorites going back and forth. They also are training mates up in Montreal. So we are very well positioned with a veteran group of stars to represent the United States very well going into Beijing.
Well, thank you so much, Bob. Again, it's always great to see you. Knowing that Columbus, we're going to put our hat in the ring for 2024 or 2025, and just appreciate. I bet you're glad to be going home tomorrow after 2 weeks. So safe travels. And then for our viewers, just knowing we're doing this again in 2 weeks on February the 4th, we'll have Dennis Dodd, CBS sports journalist for college football. He'll be the day after National Signing Day, so he's going to give us a great preview of the winners and losers of that. And so we look forward to seeing you again, and be safe, everyone. Thanks again.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Linda. Thank you, Riley.
Thanks.
Thank you, Celia.
Bye.
Bye.